Captain Minho Park had been hauling cargo between Earth and the colonies for 12 years. He knew the routine by heart. Jump into the system, hail the orbital station, get clearance, dock, unload, and jump back out. Simple. Clean. Boring, usually. Today was different. The steady horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the new Jeju system. Minho stretched in his captain's chair and reached for the communication panel. New Jeju Orbital Control, this is cargo hauler Steady Horizon requesting docking clearance. We have medical supplies and equipment. Please respond. Silence, Minho frowned. He tried again. Still nothing. He looked at his navigator, a young woman named Hana. Check the nav beacons. Are we in the right place? Hana's fingers flew across her console. Her face went pale. Captain, the beacons are offline. All of them. And I'm picking up debris on the scanners. A lot of debris. Minho felt ice form in his stomach. He activated the main view screen. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Where New Jeju's 3 orbital stations should have been, there was only wreckage. Pieces of metal and plastic tumbled slowly through space. Some pieces were still glowing from fire or heat. Get us closer, Minho said quietly. Carefully, the steady horizon moved forward. As they approached, the full picture became clear. The stations hadn't just been damaged. They had been destroyed. Completely. Minho had seen accidents before, even pirate attacks. This was different. This was systematic. This was murder. Scan the planet, Minho ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. Hana worked in silence for a moment. Then she turned to look at him. There were tears in her eyes. Captain, I'm not picking up any life signs. Any of them. The cities they're gone. Minho stood up and walked to the view screen. New Jeju was supposed to be green and blue, covered in farms and forests. The colonists had worked for 30 years to make it beautiful. Now from orbit he could see dark patches where the cities had been. Smoke still rose from some locations. The agricultural zones were burning. 2.3 million people had lived down there. Minho had friends in the capital city. He had delivered their wedding present just 6 months ago. His throat felt tight. Send a distress signal to Earth, he said. Maximum priority. Then start looking for survivors. Check every frequency. If anyone is alive down there, I want to find them. For 3 hours they searched. They found nothing. No emergency beacons. No escape pods. No transmissions. Just silence and death. Then Hana found something. Captain, there's a broadcast beacon still transmitting from one of the destroyed satellites. It's on a loop, playing the same message over and over. Let me hear it, Minho said. The voice that came through the speakers was tired and scared. It belonged to Ji-won Choi, the colony's chief administrator. Minho had met her once. She had been kind and smart, always working to make life better for the colonists. This is Administrator Ji-won Choi of New Jeju Colony, the recording said. If anyone receives this message, please inform Earth Central Command. We are under attack. The attackers gave no warning, no communication, no demands. They simply opened fire from orbit. Our defensive platforms were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The cities are being hit with directed energy weapons. We have no way to fight back. We have no way to evacuate. This is a massacre. There was a pause. Minho could hear explosions in the background of the recording. Then Ji-won spoke again, and her voice was different now. Calmer. Final. I am recording this from the emergency bunker beneath Capital City. The bunker was designed to survive anything. It won't matter. The heat sensors show the temperature outside rising to levels that will breach our shields within minutes. We are going to die, all of us. Tell Earth, tell everyone. The Vreth Dominion did this. They came to our world and killed us like we were insects. They gave us no chance, no mercy. Tell Earth that the Vreth see us as vermin to be exterminated. Tell Earth to be ready. Tell Earth to... The recording ended with a burst of static. Minho stood frozen. The Vreth. Humanity had encountered them twice before. Both times had been brief meetings at the edges of space. The Vreth had made it clear they didn't want human ships in their territory. There had been tension but no violence. Until now, Captain, Hana said softly. What do we do? Minho turned away from the view screen. He couldn't look at the dead planet anymore. We document everything. Every piece of wreckage. Every burn mark on the surface. We collect that satellite with G1's message. Then we jump back to Earth and we tell them what happened here. The trip back to Earth took 3 days. Minho didn't sleep. He kept watching the footage they had collected. The more he watched, the angrier he became. This hadn't been a battle. This had been extermination. When they arrived at Earth, Minho was taken immediately to Defense Command headquarters. He had never been inside before. It was huge and intimidating. They brought him to a conference room where several high-ranking officers were waiting. Fleet Admiral Hyun Lee sat at the head of the table. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been in the military for 40 years. She looked tired. "Captain Park," she said, "show us what you found." Minho connected his data pad to the room's display system. For 20 minutes, he showed them everything. The destroyed stations, the burned cities, Jiwon's final message. Nobody spoke. When he finished, the silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Admiral Hyun spoke. "How long would you estimate the attack lasted?" "Based on the thermal signatures and debris patterns, no more than 6 hours," Minho said. They were thorough. They made sure nobody survived. One of the other officers, a man with too many medals on his chest, cleared his throat. "We need to consider diplomatic options. Perhaps this was a mistake. Perhaps we can negotiate." "There is nothing to negotiate," Admiral Hyun said coldly. She stood up and walked to the display, looking at the image of dead New Jeju. "The Vreth have declared war on us. They may not have said the words, but their actions are clear. They believe they can kill us without consequence. We need to show them they are wrong." "Admiral, they have 600 warships," another officer said. "We have 47. The math is simple. We cannot win a conventional war." Admiral Hyun turned to face the room. There was something dangerous in her eyes, something that made Minho sit up straighter in his chair. "Then we will not fight a conventional war," she said. "I want every scientist, engineer, and strategic thinker we have brought to a classified meeting. Tomorrow. I don't care what they're working on. I don't care where they are. Bring them here. We are going to build something the Vreth cannot imagine. We are going to make them regret they ever heard of humanity." 6 months after New Jeju fell, fear ruled the colonies. Vreth scout ships had been spotted at the edges of 3 more systems. Everyone knew another attack was coming. People were scared. Some wanted to evacuate back to Earth, others wanted to fight. Most just wanted to survive. On Earth, the public saw the government building bigger ships and training more soldiers. What they didn't see was the truth. What they didn't see was happening far beyond Neptune in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt. Commander Dae-ho Kim stood on the observation deck of Forge Station and looked out at the construction. The station was massive, built into a hollowed-out asteroid. Nobody on Earth knew it existed. Nobody could know. If word got out about what they were building here, there would be panic. Maybe riots. 12,000 people worked at Forge Station. Engineers, physicists, military personnel, all volunteers, all sworn to secrecy. They had been out here for 5 months with no contact with their families. No messages home. Nothing. As far as Earth records showed, they had all died in training accidents or ship malfunctions. They were ghosts. That's why they called it the Ghost Protocol. "Commander Kim," a voice said behind him. Dae-ho turned to see Dr. Kwon Yoon approaching. The physicist looked exhausted. His hair was messy and there were dark circles under his eyes. He had been working 18-hour days since arriving at the station. "Dr. Kwon," Dae-ho said, "please tell me you have good news." Kwon smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We've done it. The first stellar ignition drive is complete. We ran simulations all night. It works. We can ignite a brown dwarf and control the energy release." Dae-ho felt relief wash over him. This was what Fleet Admiral Hyun had asked for 6 months ago. A weapon the Vreth couldn't imagine. "When can we test it?" "That's the problem," Kwon said. "We can't, not really. If we test it, everyone in 3 star systems will see a new sun suddenly appear. The Vreth will know something is happening. We have to trust the mathematics and hope we're right." "How powerful is it?" Dae-ho asked. Kwon was quiet for a moment. "If we use one device on the brown dwarf in the beta sector, the energy release would sterilize everything within 2 billion kilometers. Any ships in that range would simply cease to exist. Any planets would be scoured clean. Nothing would survive." Dae-ho felt cold. "And we're building how many of these?" Admiral Hyun ordered 30, Kwon said quietly. "We have 7 complete, 23 in progress." 30, Dae-ho repeated. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "Do you know what this makes us, Doctor? If we deploy these weapons, what does that make humanity?" Kwon came to stand beside him. "Alive," he said simply. "It makes us alive. The Vreth killed 2 million people on New Jeju. They gave them no warning, no chance. If they come for Earth, they'll kill billions. I'd rather be alive and guilty than dead and innocent. Daiho understood. He didn't like it, but he understood.
How long until all 30 are complete?
At current pace, 14 months, Quan said. But there's something else. Something I need to show you. They walked through the corridors of Forge Station. People nodded to Daiho as they passed. Everyone here knew what they were building. Everyone carried the weight of it. One engineer, a young woman named Sumin Han, stopped them in the hallway. "Commander," she said. "Doctor, may I speak freely?" "Of course," Daiho said. Sumin looked nervous. "I've been working on the drive cores. I understand the science. I know why we're building these. But sir, if we use them, we're going to kill millions of Vreth, maybe billions. They're civilians. They're children. How is that different from what they did to New Jeju?" Daiho had been asked this question before. He had asked it himself late at night when he couldn't sleep. "It's not different," he said honestly. "What we're building is monstrous. The only question is whether we use them as weapons or as deterrents. If the Vreth know we have the power to destroy them, maybe they'll leave us alone. Maybe we never have to fire a shot. And if they don't?" Sumin asked. "Then we do what survival demands," Daiho said. "And we live with the guilt. Our children will be alive to judge us for it." Sumin nodded slowly and walked away. Daiho watched her go. She was 26 years old. Too young to carry this burden. They were all too young. Quan led Daiho to the main research lab. Inside, dozens of scientists were working at terminals. In the center of the room was a holographic display showing a map of the local star cluster. "What am I looking at?" Daiho asked. "I've been running more simulations," Quan said. "I discovered something. The stellar ignition drives can be networked together. If we position them correctly, we can create a cascade effect. One trigger could ignite multiple brown dwarfs in sequence. The energy would ripple across light years." Daiho stared at the display. Red lines connected multiple points on the map. "What would happen if we activated all 30 at once in a networked pattern?" Quan touched a control. The holographic display changed. Red waves spread across the map, engulfing star system after star system. Theoretically, we could destroy the Vreth Dominion's entire core territory in a single coordinated strike. 7 star systems, 4 billion Vreth lives. The room seemed very cold suddenly. Daiho looked around at the scientists. They were all watching him, waiting for his reaction. "Does Admiral Hyun know about this?" he asked. "I sent her the data yesterday," Quan said. "She's calling a secret council meeting in 3 days. You and I are requested to attend." The meeting was held on Luna in a bunker buried under the surface. Present were Admiral Hyun, Commander Daiho, Dr. Quan, Captain Minho Park, who had discovered New Jeju's fate, and 3 civilian representatives. One of them was Counselor Jiho Nam, a politician known for his strong ethics. Admiral Hyun didn't waste time. "Dr. Quan has discovered we can network the Ghost Protocol devices. We have the power to eliminate the Vreth Dominion in a single strike. The question before this council is simple. Do we create a deterrent or do we create a weapon of genocide?" Counselor Jiho spoke immediately. "We create a deterrent. Only a deterrent. If we build this network with the intention of using it, we become no better than the Vreth. We become the monsters. The Vreth are monsters," Captain Minho said. His voice was hard. "I saw what they did to New Jeju. I saw the bodies. If we have the power to end them, why wouldn't we use it?" "Because we're human," Jiho said. "Because we're supposed to be better. Because if we exterminate an entire species, we lose something important. We lose our humanity." The debate went on for hours. In the end, Admiral Hyun called for a vote. The question was clear. Deterrent or weapon? The vote was 4-3 in favor of deterrent. They would build the network, but only activate it if humanity faced total extinction. Admiral Hyun accepted the decision. The meeting ended. Everyone left except Daiho. The Admiral asked him to stay. "Commander," she said when they were alone, "I need you to ensure the weapons can be activated remotely, from Earth. If the Vreth attack and our conventional forces can't stop them, I need to be able to trigger the Ghost Protocol without delay." "That wasn't what the Council voted for," Daiho said carefully. "I know," Hyun said, "but I'm responsible for humanity's survival. The Council can judge me later after we're all still alive."
"Can you do it?"
Daiho thought about Suman's question. He thought about the children who would grow up to judge them. He thought about the 2 million dead on New Jeju. "Yes, Admiral," he said. "I can do it," Admiral Hyun nodded. She looked tired, old. Good, now get back to Ford Station. We have 14 months to finish this work. Something tells me the Vreth won't give us that long. She was right. 8 weeks later, the Vreth returned with fire and death, and humanity's desperate gamble was forced to begin early. The Vreth came back 14 months after New Jeju fell. They didn't come with words or warnings. They came with 3 fleets attacking 3 colony worlds at the same time. The message was clear. They wanted humanity gone. New Seoul fell first. The colony had been home to 1.8 million people. Captain Taehyung-an commanded the defense platform above the planet. He had 6 defense satellites and 2 corvettes. The Vreth sent 40 warships. The battle lasted 6 hours. Taehyung managed to evacuate 400,000 people before the Vreth destroyed the orbital defenses and began bombarding the surface. He watched from his escape pod as the planet burned. Titan Station died next. It was a mining colony on one of Saturn's moons. 800,000 people worked there, pulling valuable metals from the rocks. The Vreth didn't bother with a slow bombardment. They used a kinetic weapon, a massive piece of metal accelerated to near light speed. It hit Titan's surface like a hammer hitting glass. The entire moon cracked. The station was vaporized. Everyone died in seconds, only New Busan survived. That was because Captain Minho Park had been nearby with his battle group. After discovering New Jeju's fate, Minho had been promoted and given command of the Retribution, humanity's newest dreadnought. He had 12 ships under his command. When the distress call came from New Busan, he jumped his entire force into the system. The Vreth had sent 30 ships. Minho had 12. The fight should have been impossible, but Minho had learned something important in his months of training. The Vreth fought like machines. They moved in perfect formations. They followed predictable patterns. Humans didn't. Humans were messy and creative and desperate. Minho ordered his ships to scatter. Then he led them through the debris field from New Busan's destroyed outer stations. The Vreth followed, trying to maintain their formation. That's when Minho sprang his trap. His ships had planted mines in the debris. When the Vreth fleet entered the field, the mines detonated. 7 Vreth ships were destroyed instantly. 8 more were damaged. The remaining Vreth broke formation and fled. It was the first time humanity had won a battle against them. People celebrated. Minho knew better. The Vreth hadn't retreated because they were beaten. They had retreated to regroup. They would be back with more ships. He was right. 1 week later, Admiral Hyun ordered a total evacuation of all remaining colonies. 10 million people had to be moved. Every cargo ship, passenger liner, and transport vessel was pressed into service. It was chaos, but humanity had learned how to evacuate quickly. They had practiced after New Jeju. Within 3 weeks, every human colonist was either on Earth, Mars, or on a ship heading there. Among the refugees was a civilian analyst named Yoonji Park. She had been working at a communications station on the edge of human space. Her job had been to monitor radio signals and look for patterns. She was very good at her job, maybe too good. Yoonji had been tracking Vreth communications for months. She had learned to recognize their signal types and encryption patterns. 3 days after arriving on Earth, she requested an emergency meeting with Fleet Admiral Hyun. The Admiral's staff tried to turn her away. Yoonji refused to leave until they listened. Finally, a tired-looking officer brought her to a small office. Admiral Hyun was there, looking at reports on a datapad. She didn't look up. "You have 2 minutes," the Admiral said. Yoonji pulled out her own datapad and brought up a display. "Admiral, I've been tracking unusual energy signatures from the Kuiper Belt. Very specific patterns. High-energy physics experiments. The Vreth have detected them too. I've intercepted their communications. They're trying to figure out what we're building out there." Admiral Hyun looked up for the first time. Her eyes were very sharp. "Go on." "They know something is happening," Yoonji said. "They don't know what, but they're scared. I think that's why they attacked the colonies. They wanted to hurt us before we could finish whatever we're building." Admiral Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then she picked up her communication device. "Get me Commander Daeho Kim at Ford Station. Priority 1. Right now." The connection took 30 seconds. Daeho's face appeared on the screen. He looked worried. "Commander," Admiral Hyun said, "the Vreth know about Ghost Protocol. They don't know details, but they know we're building something. How close are you to completion?" "We have 23 devices ready," Daeho said. We need 7 more weeks for the full 30. You don't have 7 weeks, Hyun said. You have 7 days. After that, I'm pulling everyone off the station. The Vreth will come looking for what we're building, and I can't risk them capturing those devices. Admiral, 7 days isn't enough, Daeho said. We can't complete the full network in... Then work with what you have, Hyun interrupted. 23 devices. Can you deploy them? Daeho looked off screen, probably at Dr. Kwan. Yes, but the network won't be complete. We can't do the full cascade. We can target specific locations, but the coverage will have gaps. I'll take gaps over nothing, Hyun said. Deploy them now, that's an order. Daeho nodded and the screen went dark. Admiral Hyun turned to Yoonji. You're promoted to Strategic Intelligence Officer. Report to the War Room. I need someone who can read Vreth communications. Yoonji followed the Admiral through the corridors of Defense Command. The War Room was huge, filled with displays and officers. One wall showed a tactical map of human space. Red markers indicated Vreth fleet positions. There were a lot of red markers. Admiral, one of the officers said, we're getting reports from our scouts. The Vreth are gathering their fleet. Looks like a major formation. At least 400 ships. They're heading toward Seoul. Time to arrival? Hyun asked. 17 days at their current speed. Admiral Hyun studied the map. Humanity had 47 warships. Not all of them were in Seoul system. Even if they recalled every ship, they would be outnumbered 10-1. Earth's orbital defenses were strong, but not strong enough to stop 400 warships. This is it, she said quietly. This is their extinction move. They're coming to finish us. For 5 days, Forge Station worked around the clock. Commander Daeho didn't sleep. None of them did. They positioned the 23 stellar ignition drives across 40 light-years of space. Each device was placed near a brown dwarf or large gas giant. Each was networked to a central control station on Forge Station. On the 6th day, a Vreth stealth ship entered the Kuiper Belt. It had been shadowing human supply ships and following them back to their source. Now it had found what the Vreth were looking for. Security Chief Taeyang Shin was the first to detect the intruder. He raised the alarm immediately. Commander Daeho ordered all personnel to battle stations, but they were scientists and engineers, not soldiers. They had 6 security officers and a handful of weapons. The Vreth ship had a full combat team. The Vreth boarded Forge Station through the main airlock. They were tall creatures covered in biomechanical armor. They moved fast and killed efficiently. Taeyang led the defense using every trick he knew. They rigged explosives in the corridors. They vented atmosphere in sections where the Vreth were advancing. They fought room by room. In the main control center, Dr. Kwan watched the Vreth ship transmitting data back to its fleet. They're sending everything, he said. All our research. All our plans. The Vreth will know about the Ghost Protocol. Daeho made a decision. How much data have they transmitted? About 60%, Kwan said. Can we destroy their ship? If we overload our reactor, the explosion would take out everything within a kilometer. Including us, and do it, Daeho said. Kwan stared at him. Commander, that will kill everyone on this station. All 12,000 people. I know, Daeho said. But if the Vreth get complete data on Ghost Protocol, they'll find a way to counter it. Everything we've built will be useless. This is the only way. Taeyang's voice came over the communication system. Commander, we can't hold them much longer. They're almost to the control center. Daeho looked at Dr. Kwan. Start the overload sequence. Give me 5 minutes. Kwan's hand shook as he entered the commands. 5 minutes. Commander, I'm sorry we didn't have more time. Me too, Daeho said. He activated the station-wide communication system. This is Commander Daeho Kim. In 5 minutes, Forge Station will be destroyed. There is no time to evacuate. I want you all to know that what we built here will save humanity. Your families will survive because of your sacrifice. It has been an honor serving with you. He closed the channel. Then he sat down in his command chair and waited. The seconds counted down. Somewhere in the station, the Vreth were still advancing. It didn't matter anymore. At 0, the reactor overload triggered. Forge Station and the Vreth ship became a miniature star for exactly 2.3 seconds. Then there was nothing but debris and radiation. On Earth, Admiral Hyun watched the sensor data disappear from her screens. She closed her eyes. 12,000 people gone. But the Ghost Protocol devices were still out there, positioned and ready. The Vreth had 60% of the data, but not enough to stop what was coming. Admiral, Yoonji said, the Vreth fleet has changed course. They're moving faster now. Time to Earth is now 11 days. Hyun opened her eyes. She looked at the tactical display showing 23 green markers scattered across space. Each marker was a weapon capable of destroying everything in billions of kilometers. She thought about Commander Daeho. 3 weeks after the Battle of the Belt, humanity held its breath. The Vreth were crippled but not destroyed. Intelligence reports said they still had 300 warships in their core systems. Everyone knew the war wasn't over. It had barely started. Fleet Admiral Hyun Lee stood in a secure command center on Luna. Around her were 50 officers and analysts, all working to prepare for what was coming next. But Hyun had a secret, something even most of her own officers didn't know about. She had been preparing for this moment since the day New Jeju fell. "Activate Protocol Exodus," she said quietly to her aide. The aide's eyes went wide. "Admiral, are you sure? If we do this, there's no turning back. The government will be grateful when they understand," Hyun interrupted. "Activate it now." Across the Sol system, encrypted signals went out to hidden facilities. Locations that didn't exist on any official records. Shipyards buried in asteroids, construction platforms hidden in the shadow of Jupiter, assembly stations disguised as mining operations. All of them received the same message: it's time. Show them what we built. Captain Taehyung-an was recovering on Earth from his injuries at New Seoul. He had been in the hospital for 2 months. His body was healing, but his mind was still scarred. He had watched a planet die. He had lost friends and family. When the military police came to his room with orders to report for immediate duty, he thought it was a mistake. "Sir, you're being assigned to the destroyer Defiant Hope," the officer said. "You ship out in 6 hours." "I don't understand," Taehyung said. "I'm not cleared for active duty, and I've never heard of the Defiant Hope." "Nobody has," the officer said. "You will. Everyone will." Taehyung reported to the designated coordinates. What he found there made him stop breathing. Ships, hundreds of them. No, thousands. They stretched as far as he could see. Destroyers, frigates, cruisers, dreadnoughts. All of them new. All of them armed with weapons he had never seen before. A shuttle took him to one of the destroyers. It was sleek and deadly, covered in armor plating that looked like it could survive anything. The crew was already aboard. 300 people, all wearing new uniforms. They saluted as he entered. "Captain on deck," someone called. Taehyung realized they meant him. "I'm not a captain. I'm just—" "You're Captain On now," a woman said. She wore the insignia of a commander. "I'm your executive officer, Commander Bora Lim. Welcome to the Defiant Hope. We've been training on this ship for 18 months in simulators. Now we finally get to see the real thing." 18 months? Taehyung said. "But these ships, when were they built?" While everyone was watching the Battle of the Belt and crying about our losses, humanity was building something else, Bora said. Admiral Hyun called it insurance. We called it impossible. Either way, here we are. Taehyung looked out the window at the fleet. "How many ships?" 2,300 warships, Bora said. "Give or take. We call it the impossible fleet." On Earth, the government was in chaos. The civilian leadership had just learned about the fleet. They were furious. Counselor Ji Ho-nam stood in the assembly chamber, shouting at a video screen showing Admiral Hyun. "You built a secret fleet? You used resources that should have gone to rebuilding our colonies. Do you understand what you've done? This is a military coup." "This is survival," Hyun said calmly. "The Vreth still have 300 ships. If we wait for them to attack again, we lose. So we're not waiting. We're going to strike first." "Strike first?" Jiho's face was red. "You mean invade? You want to attack the Vreth homeworlds?" "Yes," Hyun said. "And we're going to occupy them. We're not coming back. We're taking their territory and making it ours." The chamber erupted in shouts. Half the assembly supported Hyun. Half wanted her arrested. The arguing went on for hours. Finally, the Speaker of the Assembly called for order. "This decision is too important for politicians," she said. "We're going to hold a vote. Every human alive gets to decide. Do we authorize the offensive or do we seek peace?" The vote took 3 days. 4 billion humans cast their choice. When the results came in, it was close. 57% voted to authorize the offensive. 43% voted for peace. It was enough. Counselor Jiho gave one final speech before resigning. "We have voted to become conquerors. History will remember this. I pray that one day our children will forgive us." Before he left, he added one condition to the authorization. If the Vreth offered surrender, the fleet had to accept. Admiral Hyun agreed. The impossible fleet departed Seoul in 3 waves over 6 days. Each wave had over 700 ships. Captain Taehyung stood on the bridge of the Defiant Hope as his ship prepared to jump. He recorded a message that would be transmitted back to Earth after they left. My name is Taehyung An. I watched New Seoul burn. I lost my family and my home. Today I'm going to make sure that never happens to anyone else. We're not monsters. We're not conquerors. We're just people who learned a hard lesson. In this galaxy, you're either strong enough to protect what you love or you lose it. History will judge us, but there will only be a history if we win. The jump engaged. 2,300 warships vanished into faster-than-light travel. Their destination was the Vreth home system, 42 light-years away. They arrived with weapons armed and shields up. The Vreth homeworld was a large planet covered in biomechanical cities. Orbital platforms surrounded it. 300 Vreth warships were scattered throughout the system. When the human fleet appeared, every Vreth alarm in the system started screaming. War Master Krevath was in his command station above the Vreth homeworld. He had survived the Battle of the Belt because he had been leading from the rear. Now he looked at his sensors and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The humans had come with more ships than he thought existed. This wasn't a battle. This was an execution. Before he could give orders to fight, every communication channel lit up. The same message played on all frequencies. It was Admiral Hyun's voice speaking in both human and Vreth languages. War Master Krevath. Vreth High Command. People of the Vreth Dominion. You came to our worlds with death. You killed our children and burned our homes. You gave us no warning and no mercy. Now we have come to your home. We have come with a fleet you cannot defeat. We have come with weapons that can burn your sun and crack your planet. But we did not come to kill you. We came to give you a choice. The message paused. Every Vreth in the system was listening. So was every human. Stand down your ships, Hyun continued. Accept our terms. Your empire is over. Your military will be reduced. Your leaders will face justice for their crimes. But your people will live. Your children will grow up. You will have a future. Or you can fight. And if you fight, we will ensure that history remembers the Vreth Dominion the way we remember New Jeju. As ashen memory, you have 6 hours to decide. The communication ended. Silence fell across both fleets. Captain Taehyung waited on his bridge. His weapons officer asked if they should prepare to fire. Taehyung shook his head. We wait. If they want peace, we give them peace. If they want war, we give them fire. 6 hours passed like years. In the Vreth command station, War Master Krevath argued with his commanders. Some wanted to fight to the last ship. Others saw the truth. They were outnumbered 7-1. The humans had already proven they would use weapons of mass destruction. If this battle started, the Vreth homeworld would be destroyed. Krevath made his decision. He sent one word to the human fleet. Just one word in the human language. Terms. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. They took place on a neutral station halfway between the Vreth homeworld and the human fleet. Admiral Hyun represented humanity. War Master Krevath represented what remained of the Vreth Dominion. Neither side trusted the other, but both sides wanted to survive. The final treaty was harsh. The Vreth Dominion was dissolved. Their military was reduced to 30 ships for defense only. Their leaders who had ordered the attacks on human colonies were handed over for trial. Vreth worlds became protectorates under a joint human-Vreth government. It would take decades to build real peace. Maybe longer, but it was a start. 5 years later, a memorial was built on Earth. It was a wall of black stone 10 meters tall and a kilometer long. On it were carved 2.3 million names, every person who died on New Jeju. Below that were more names. The people who died at New Seoul, Titan Station, and New Busan. The soldiers who died in the Battle of the Belt. The engineers who died at Forge Station. And at the bottom, a separate section for Vreth civilians who died when the Ghost Protocol was activated. 800 million names took up most of the wall. Captain Minho Park stood before the memorial on the anniversary of New Jeju's fall. He had retired from the military after the war. Too many ghosts, too many nightmares. He came to the memorial every year. It was important to remember. Admiral Hyun stood beside him. She was retired too. She looked old now. The war had aged her 20 years and 5. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked. Minho was quiet for a long time. "I think we did what survival required. Whether that's the same as right, I don't know." 800 million Vreth died because of my orders, Hyun said. "I don't sleep well." "None of us do," Minho said. "But Earth is still here. Humanity is still alive. That has to count for something." Dr. Kwan had left instructions. Before he died on Forge Station, he had transmitted the activation protocols to Earth. Now sitting in a bunker on Luna, a team of technicians prepared to execute those instructions. They didn't know all the details. They just knew that in 10 minutes something big was going to happen. Admiral Hyun stood behind them watching. She had made her decision. Now she had to live with it. Or die with it. Either way, humanity's fate would be decided in the next few hours. "Activation sequence initiated," one of the technicians said. "All 23 devices are responding. Network synchronization at 97%. We're ready." "Do it," Hyun said. The technician pressed the button. Nothing happened for exactly 12 seconds. Then the sensors started screaming. Across 40 light-years of space, brown dwarfs that had been cold and dark for billions of years suddenly ignited. The stellar ignition drives forced fusion reactions in their cores, turning them into temporary stars. The energy release was beyond anything humanity had ever created. Each ignition was like a miniature supernova. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky and gasped. New stars were appearing. Dozens of them. The sky was burning. In the cities, sirens wailed. People ran into the streets, pointing and shouting. Some thought it was beautiful. Some thought it was the end of the world. They were both right. The Vreth Grand Fleet was traveling through that region of space. They had 400 ships in tight formation, all heading toward Earth. When the brown dwarfs ignited, the fleet was caught in the middle of it. War Master Krevath stood on the bridge of his flagship when the first reports came in. Energy spike detected. Multiple sources. Analysis shows artificial ignition patterns. The humans have... The communication cut off as fusion fire engulfed 3 entire battle groups. 112 ships simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged. They were vaporized so completely that there wasn't even debris left behind. The remaining ships scattered in panic. Vreth vessels were designed to survive conventional weapons. They had heavy armor and powerful shields. None of it mattered against the power of an artificial star. Ships that were too close to the ignition points were torn apart by radiation and heat. Ships farther away were hit by energy waves that fried their systems. When the fire finally faded, 240 Vreth ships had been destroyed. Another 50 were badly damaged. The Grand Fleet was broken, scattered, but 160 ships remained functional and they were very, very angry. War Master Krevath sent a message to all human communication frequencies. His voice was cold with rage. "You have shown us what you are. Cowards who hide behind weapons of mass destruction. We will respond in kind. We will burn your world. We will kill your children. We will ensure that history remembers humanity as ashes and screams." On Luna, Admiral Hyun listened to the message. She felt nothing. No guilt, no satisfaction. Just a cold determination to finish what she had started. "How many Vreth ships remain?" 160, Yunji said. "They're regrouping. Changing formation. They're still heading toward Sol." "How many ships do we have in system?" Yun asked. 43, including Captain Minho's battle group, which just arrived from New Busan. More ships are jumping in from other systems, but they won't arrive for another 6 hours. "Then we fight with what we have," Hyun said. She opened a channel to all ships in the Sol system. "This is Fleet Admiral Hyun Lee. All ships form up at the asteroid belt. We're going to show the Vreth what happens when you threaten Earth." Captain Minho Park brought the Retribution into formation with 36 other capital ships. It wasn't enough. They were still outnumbered almost 4-1. But they were fighting for their home. That had to count for something. The Vreth fleet divided into 3 groups. They were going to attack from multiple directions, trying to overwhelm the human defenses. It was a good strategy. Minho had to admit that. But it had one weakness. It split their forces, all ships, Minho transmitted. "Focus fire on the central group. We're going to punch through them, then wheel around and hit the others from behind. Stay tight, stay coordinated, and for everyone you love, don't miss." The Vreth came in fast. Their weapons were designed to penetrate shields and armor. The first volley destroyed 6 human ships in 10 seconds. The Retribution shook as energy beams hammered its shields. Minho felt the heat through the deck plates. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons." The human fleet opened up. Railguns threw metal slugs at fractional light speed. Missile pods launched hundreds of warheads. Energy weapons carved through the void. The Vreth had better shields, but human weapons had been improved after studying New Jeju's destruction. They had learned from their defeat. 3 Vreth ships exploded. 5 more took heavy damage. But they kept coming. The Central Vreth group had 60 ships. Minho had 12 capital ships and 15 smaller vessels facing them. The math was bad. "Launch fighters," Minho ordered. "All wings." 1,000 small craft poured out of the human ships. They were piloted by volunteers, people who knew this might be a one-way trip. Among them was Hana Song, Minho's former navigator who had transferred to Fighter Command. She led her squadron straight at the Vreth flagship. "All fighters, follow my lead," Hana transmitted. "We're going for the big one." The Vreth point defense systems opened fire. Hundreds of small energy beams filled space. Fighters exploded left and right. Hana flew through the storm of fire, dodging and weaving. Her squadron had 50 fighters. By the time they reached the Vreth flagship, only 12 remained. "Arm missiles," Hana said. "Target the main weapons array. Fire on my mark." They released their missiles at point-blank range. The Vreth flagship's shields held against most of them, but 3 missiles got through. They detonated against the ship's main weapons system. Explosions tore through the flagship's forward section. The giant vessel went dark and began drifting. "Target destroyed," Hana reported. Then her fighter was hit by debris. The last thing Minho heard on the communication channel was static. The loss of their flagship threw the Vreth into confusion. The central group's formation collapsed. Minho pressed the advantage. "All ships full burn. Rip them apart." For 30 minutes, the battle raged through the asteroid belt. Ships on both sides exploded. Debris and bodies tumbled through space. The asteroids themselves became weapons as ships pushed them at their enemies. It was brutal and ugly and desperate. On Luna, Admiral Hyun watched the tactical display. The human fleet was winning the central battle, but the 2 other Vreth groups were closing in on Earth. The orbital defenses were strong, but not strong enough to stop 100 ships. Dr. Kwan's final gift was waiting for her. Before he died, he had sent one more file. The Cascade Protocol, a modification to the Ghost Protocol technology that could trigger fusion reactions in ship power cores. It would destroy any ship in range, including human ships. Hyun looked at the numbers. If she activated the Cascade Protocol, she would destroy the Vreth fleet. She would also destroy most of the human fleet. Thousands of her own people would die, including Captain Minho Park. She thought about Commander Daiho, who had sacrificed Ford Station and 12,000 people. She thought about Hana Song, who had just died buying them time. She thought about every person who had already given their lives to protect Earth. "Activate the Cascade Protocol," she said quietly. Yoonji stared at her. "Admiral, our ships are in the target zone. We'll kill our own people." "I know," Hyun said. "Send the activation code." The warning went out to all human ships. 30 seconds. Evacuate to pods. Most crews didn't make it. Captain Minho was on the bridge of the Retribution when the message came through. He looked at his crew. Young faces. Scared faces. Brave faces. "It's been an honor," he said. Then he hit the evacuation alarm. "Everyone to the pods, move!" Minho stayed on the bridge. Someone had to guide the ship's weapons until the last second. He kept firing at the Vreth, kept fighting. The countdown reached 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 1. The Cascade Protocol activated. Across the battlefield, fusion reactors in both Vreth and human ships began to destabilize. The crews had no time to react. The reactors overloaded and turned into miniature suns. In the space of 5 seconds, 97 Vreth ships exploded. 22 human ships died with them. Captain Minho was thrown from his chair as the Retribution began to tear itself apart. He hit the emergency pod release. The pod launched just as the ship's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the asteroid belt like a second sun. When the light faded, the battle was over. The Vreth fleet was destroyed. Only a handful of damaged ships remained, and they were fleeing. Earth was saved. But the cost had been terrible. Minho's pod was recovered 6 hours later. He was unconscious but alive. When he woke up in a medical bay, Admiral Hyun was standing beside his bed. "We won," she said simply. Minho looked at her. He saw the weight she carried. The guilt and the necessity and the terrible price of survival. How many did we lose? 16,000 military personnel, Hyun said. And everyone on Forge Station. 28,000 total. And the Vreth? We killed approximately 800 million when we ignited the brown dwarfs. Their colonies were in those systems. We didn't know that when we activated Ghost Protocol. Minho closed his eyes. 800 million. That number was too big to understand.